Good afternoon, and welcome to today's AdWeek webinar, where we'll be talking about creating breakthrough digital ads with entertainment partners. Today's webinar is sponsored by MutualMarkets. I'm Danielle Moore, Senior Manager here with AdWeek's Content Studio, and I will be your host today. Before we begin, I just want to take a couple minutes to let everyone know what to expect from today's webinar and make sure you're all familiar with the features of our platform here. Today's webinar should go somewhere in the 30 to 40-minute range, after which we'll have time for audience Q&A. So if at any point you have a question for one of our speakers, just use that Q&A tool right beneath the video window on your screen. We'll get to as many of your questions as we can at the end of the presentation. Also, definitely not too late to invite your colleagues to today's event. About 15 minutes ago, you should have received a final reminder email from us, and in there you can find a link to the registration page you can share with your colleagues. Still plenty of time for them to join us live, but if they can't, do know that today's event is being recorded, and we'll email that link out to all registrants, so keep an eye out for it later today. And if you would like a PDF of today's slides, you can find those in the event resources area right beneath the video window on your screen as well. As always, if you enjoyed today's webinar, be sure to check out the full schedule of upcoming events at adweek.com/webinars. Also in that event resources area, you can find a link to AdWeek's resources library where we have new resources added all the time as well. So be sure to check all of that out. All right, now let me introduce you to today's speakers. We're very happy to be joined by Alan Gould, co-founder and co-CEO at MutualMarkets. Alan co-founded MutualMarkets, where he plays a crucial role in guiding the company's strategic direction and leveraging his extensive experience in entrepreneurship to build strong partnerships and drive innovation in co-marketing. We're also pleased to welcome Mike Benson, President and CMO at CBS. Mike Benson leads all CBS marketing activities and works closely with Paramount Global to coordinate marketing efforts for the CBS family of brands and programming. He has also held leadership positions at Amazon Studios, Time Warner, and the Walt Disney Company. And finally, we're pleased to welcome Andrew Gilman, CMO at NWN Carousel. Andrew is a recognized leader in the world of IT services, cloud, data, AI, and cybersecurity. At NWN Carousel, he oversees marketing and strategy and helps the company deliver modern workplace experiences for millions of users. All right, we've got a lot of great content to dive into today. So without further ado, let me bring all of our speakers up on screen here to get us started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll hand it over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Danielle. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, terrific. I'm excited to be with all of you. Today, we're going to talk about the power of partnership ads between brands and entertainment content. And to set the context, let's start by talking about the stat that nobody likes to talk about, which is that over the last 20 years, click-through rates still average 0.05%. This doesn't mean that there aren't campaigns that perform better, but the average click-through rate is undeniably low. That said, the biggest innovations in digital marketing have come from targeting and not from creative. So with that as background, what I'd like to do is begin the process of exploring partnership ads, which is a new scalable creative tool that gives brands the ability to co-market with entertainment properties like TV shows. Partnership ads are a real game changer because in the right combinations, they will drive much higher than average rates of ad awareness and conversion. And I'd like to show you a few of these ads to be clear on the concept. And all of the ads you'll be seeing here were created by brands on MutualMarkets. The first ad, which is up on screen, is from a company called Real Truck, which is the largest seller of truck accessories in the United States. And as you can see, this Real Truck ad combines brand elements on the left with elements from a TV show, in this case, Tracker, which is from CBS and Paramount Plus. These digital ads are created and trafficked by the brand as part of their normal digital marketing, just the same as any other digital creative would be. Let me show you a few other ad examples so that we can really put our arms around the concept here. And because we're joined by Mike from CBS, these ads are all involved CBS and Paramount Plus properties. I'd like to call out, it's a little hard to see here, the ad between Dashlane and NCIS, because it speaks to the power of this particular kind of co-marketing. Dashlane is an emerging player in the cybersecurity space and a brand which is relatively unknown compared to NCIS, which is the biggest, longest running TV franchise in the US and has a built-in audience of over 20 million Americans most of whom know and love the show. So this partnership ad, which ran, included video creative, and it allowed Dashlane to leverage the NCIS audience to get notice, which is the first job that any ad has to do, and therefore to begin the conversation with its target audience. There's one more ad I want to show involving Taco Bell and After Midnight, a show which stars Taylor Tomlinson on CBS. And if you don't know her, she's the highest grossing Gen Z comic in the US. So to give you a bit of context here, Taco Bell's goal is to drive downloads of its app and increase food ordering on the app with a younger demo. So I hope this works, Danielle. Without any further ado, if you can play the ad.
Here on After Midnight, there will be memes, emojis, laughs, murder. What? No, there's no murder. Who put murder in here? We will get that fixed. No murder. I don't know, murder's pretty hot right now. We don't want any murder?
After Midnight with Taylor Tomlinson, weeknights on CBS.
Murder sells, that's all I'm saying. This is CBS, isn't it? Home of murder. Coming to CBS.
I feel like that's such a cool example.
Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate that. So what makes all of these partnership ads remarkable is that the brand was able to partner, or rather to find a partner on the platform to get to agreement and make the ad in a matter of days. This process of finding the right partner who can move the needle for you in a partnership setting would have taken 6 months or longer to complete without MutualMarkets. That's the innovation. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Andrew Gilman and Mike Benson into the conversation to discuss a campaign that brought NWN Carousel together with Fire Country, which is one of CBS's top shows. And before we start the discussion, let's roll the video, Danielle, see if we can play the Fire Country ad.
New CBS Fridays.
I've changed. I'm not the same guy that you knew when we were young.
It's here! A fire tornado? It spanned 4 football fields. Winds up to 165 miles per hour.
It's TV's hottest show. Fire Country. New Fridays on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Cool example, and the content could not be more different. Looking forward to hearing more about this one.
Excellent, Danielle. So to set the context here, this campaign, the creative was swapped out every week as there was a new episode. So Andrew, let's start at the beginning. Give yourself a proper introduction here. Just talk a little bit about NWN, the company, and your products, and then we'll talk about the campaign.
Awesome. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And thanks so much again for having me here today. As Alan mentioned at the top, my name's Andrew Gilman. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at NWN Carousel. We are the leading AI-powered tech services company in North America. We service over 5,000 of the largest organizations across the public and the private sector for all of their solutions they need to run a modern workplace. This could be everything from endpoints to networks to collaboration tools to contact centers, cybersecurity, and everything in between. And again, it's just such an honor again to join you all and share some insights about this partnership around how we strategically partnered with MutualMarkets, and then how the platform facilitated what I really think is a world's first collaboration between a B2B brand and an iconic property and an organization that Mike leads over at CBS and Paramount. Without the platform and without this capability, we would not have been able to execute this program with the success that we saw. So let me quickly just talk a little bit about the challenge that we had As Alan mentioned in the tee-up, one of the biggest challenges for brands, especially like mine, is just breaking through the clutter. There's just a volume of information being put in front of our constituents, which are everyone from a CIO, a chief information officer, to end users within those organizations. And they're bombarded with information from traditional mediums as well as non-traditional mediums. The advertising landscape is just evolving and changing, and it's just becoming increasingly difficult to capture everyone's attention. The volume of ads that people are exposed to on a daily standing has just never been more challenging. And so, for me, the challenges with a collaboration like this are, one, how do I connect to people like, to organizations like CBS Paramount? That would take an effort, either going with and through an agency or having dedicated resources. Once I've connected, how do I collaborate with them seamlessly? The collaboration of putting together a campaign of this magnitude, can take a long time, the back and forth with lawyers and whatnot. And then there's a control aspect around ensuring that our capabilities are brand safe, they're on brand, on target, and are hitting it. And then, on the content side from CBS Paramount, they have requirements around how they want their ads to look and see to make sure that they're consistent with their capabilities and their brand. So, this is really about a struggle for efficiency. I'm constantly striving for efficiency, trying to do more with less, trying to communicate, persuade, convert, these audiences. But it seems to be getting harder over time, and the mediums keep changing, and consumers are just really bombarded with content and ads. And so, despite all of those challenges, one thing just continues to be constant, is that people's emotional connection to entertainment, stories, characters, and sports, come through. And that's really where the partnership with MutualMarkets started, which is where one of our segments is all around public safety. And we support over 300 public safety access points across the nation. And so we had an opportunity to partner, to put together a creative brief, put that into MutualMarkets, and through the AI, it really helped us, determine what a good campaign could look like, how to make it great, by suggesting partnerships. And I'll give you a little bit of insight into that. So, we put all the information in. It determined that, the AI, the magical AI, knew that NWN had a customer at, a fire agency that was in a show. It also somehow determined that we supported the prison systems, which was also a character in the show. So there were all these multifaceted things that, large language models and AI that go well beyond, my capacity to find that connection. And so through the platform, we were able to collaborate with Mike, and I'll stop talking for a little bit to let things catch up. But we'll talk about the results in a little bit. But the connective tissue, the iteration, the ideation, and then the kind of the art of the possible that happened through this technology and this technique is incredible. And I think it really helped me solve a lot of the problems that we saw and exploit some of the new opportunities that we felt like were there, but never quite knew how to get there on time and on budget.
So real quick, Andrew, that's a really thorough, amazing description kind of how you use the platform. Can you talk a little bit about kind of both in your career prior to NWN and NWN, kind of how your digital campaigns were hitting your target and the kind of conversions you were getting, and the difference this made, which is going to lead to a follow-up question about kind of what you're planning on doing in the future.
Absolutely. So, several years ago, we saw an opportunity to move from traditional demand generation, which was inclusive of out of office and digital advertising to what I've coined as demand engineering, because we weren't trying to generate demand. We were really trying to focus the demand on organizations, individuals who were in market now to solve a problem that we could partner with them with, and to uniquely satisfy their requirements from taking them from where they are to where they want to go in a better, faster, more effective way through our tech solutions. And so we built a system, and we've leveraged partners and technologies that help us, one, identify who's in market now, using data-driven, drive engagement through orchestration, through ad orchestration, through our website, through different social mediums. The attract part was the hard part of like, okay, so once we have all this data, how do we then go drive attraction, engagement? And then once we have them in, how do we accelerate them to close? And so we've done this in very traditional fashion over the years, more recently partnering with some of these data providers, some of these platforms, and most critically, the partnership that we're talking about here. We had click-through rates of, 0.5%, 1%, in some cases, low single digits. And the opportunity again here with a focused campaign on public safety, where we were already, highly engaged in a number of opportunities and accounts, but there were many others across the nation that hadn't been exposed to our capabilities or had seen our brand. This is where things came together, and really the magic happened with, the MutualMarkets, putting together the ad, the sort of the creative brief in a digital fashion into a platform that analyzed the art of the possible, made some suggestions, facilitated a collaboration, and then we were able to build and deploy those ads to a focused set of accounts that were positively predisposed, that were in the industry of public safety, public safety specifically, fire, first responders, and then deploy those ads to a great success, the highest I've ever seen in my career, which was over 20%. And we're looking at, millions of impressions, with a relatively focused ad spend, deployed over a quarter to start, and then we extended it because of its success. I think the other aspect of this, quite frankly, was, Mike and the CBS team had put a lot of time, money, energy, creativity behind launching the second season of Fire Country. And so as a team, we were able to deploy those ads to audiences that they may not have reached, because they could have, they were, fire and safety and first responders that were reading CNN or whatever, but they're focused. But we were also able to benefit from, CBS and Paramount Plus's, ingenuity and creativity. And they put together a great, Super Bowl advertisement that, that came out right around the same time. And so this really created an environment that was really unique, where we were able to reach new audiences, engage new audiences, as well as leverage the partnership and the investments that CBS and Paramount was making around the show, which has definitely become a fan favorite.
Excellent. That is, love that. Thank you, Andrew. So Mike, the brands come into the platform, they access kind of great content that CBS and Paramount make. So I get why the brands do it. Why did you list your programming on the platform to be available for brands to use in partnership ads?
Yeah, well, thank you, Alan. Also great to be here. Andrew kind of nailed it. This is really an exercise in efficiency and effective efficiency too, when you really think about it. I have joked with you that you've created Match.com for brands and IP. And I think you've done it in a way that really allows us to better understand not only the types of partners that we can partner with that are not necessarily expected partners, but also from a marketing perspective, we have the ability to reach big, broad audiences on CBS and across a lot of Paramount. And as Andrew stated, we're always looking for ways that we can reach new audiences, and our agency does a fantastic job at surgically finding those audiences that we need, but there's always more, right? And there's always another point of view. And I think what's really interesting about the platform is that you can go in and start to get surgical and really reach audiences that might have the propensity to watch one of our programs and connect and engage with them in a way that they wouldn't necessarily expect. I always think it was interesting when Toyota put gasoline and electric together. They created this interesting partnership that made the Prius and really revolutionized the industry. And I think in a weird way, you're doing the same thing. You're bringing these B2B brands and other smaller brands that either they don't think that they could advertise using television, or maybe they don't think that they have the ability to do it because of a variety of different reasons. And what we're finding, both from a marketing but also a sales perspective, is you're creating these really unique partnerships that you wouldn't necessarily imagine. And we're finding great marketing opportunities, but sales opportunities as well, is because you're starting to see the power of television and how it can work to drive brands, but you're doing it in digital platforms. The other part that's really important for us is that we think about this both from a linear perspective and a streaming perspective on Paramount Plus. And so when we think about the marketing campaigns that we've got to put together, yes, of course, we want to make sure that they are big events that drive big linear ratings for us on CBS. But as we are evolving our CBS brand and knowing that audiences are consuming on a variety of different platforms, these marketing partnerships help us reach audiences and direct them to the places that make the most sense for them. And so really, we're very customer oriented, thinking about how do we get the messages in the right place, make sure it's the right message, and then make it easy for them to get to where we need them to go. There's just the other thing that I think is interesting is just the creative opportunities here too. It's I don't think Andrew and I would have ever even crossed paths in anything because we just work in different industries and different silos. And kind of to my point about Toyota and the Prius, you brought us together and we started to talk about how we can partner beyond just doing digital marketing campaigns. And I think that's kind of exciting too. And that's what I think just starts to open up the world for us and think about marketing and partnerships in a far bigger way than just beyond a digital campaign, even though the digital campaign, I think, is pretty innovative too.
Very cool. So just to put a number on it, if there were 100 brands that you agreed to let co-market with various programming, and the brands each ran about 10 million impressions, kind of small digital campaigns, that would be 1 billion impressions, including CBS shows. Do you think that's, I mean, is that going to be a big help, a marginal help? How do you think about that?
Well, it's a big help. And I'll tell you, in the world where there are literally hundreds of not only new television shows, but if you think about the market today and how much streaming there is, movies, entertainment, there's a lot, right? And so I have to find ways to not only differentiate the product that we have and the brands that we have, but reach audiences who really we think may be interested in what we're doing. And so being able to, whether it is 10 million impressions or 1 billion impressions, what's important to me is we're reaching the right people who really have an interest in what we've got to put in front of them. And I think that's kind of the beauty of your platform, is understanding not only how we can reach those audiences, but we can find the right partners. And the thing that's really important for me creatively is each of these partnerships feel authentic and organic. We don't want them to feel forced. And so whether it was the example for After Midnight or what we've done with Elsbeth and Isaac Mizrahi, or even with NWN Carousel and Fire Country, it all feels organic to us. And the more authenticity we can bring with the advertising and make the creative work, I just think it provides not only a better marketing experience for both parties, but also for the audiences that we're trying to reach.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more just on the, our audiences, right? Our customers, the average tenure for our customer base is 9 years. And so we are in the relationship business. We're not in the transaction business whatsoever. And so I feel like everything that we do from a marketing, branding, advertising, right, has to be that, right? This is not a transaction. I'm not transacting on this, this ad campaign with CBS Paramount. We are partnering together to create new ways for people to come and interact with our collective properties, and really trying to solve, what I consider, come up with creative solutions to really impossible problems today, which are, there's just so much noise in the system. There's not enough time in the day. The lawyers love to get involved, with, creating, friction in the ability to quickly deploy creative properties between different entities. And so I think that's really some of the things that we've started to do. And it's very exciting, just I mentioned, connect, collaborate, control the story and the narrative and the brands and everything, and make sure everything's tied off. But the collaboration, to your point, Mike, goes well beyond just the initial campaign, right? We've talked about, give back campaigns that, will benefit first responders. We've talked about being able to, invite folks that have interacted, with these campaigns to webinars where they can learn about how the show is so focused on demonstrating the authentic experience for first responders in the case of the Fire Country ad. And I know we've talked about that with future campaigns, but I think it's really important that these are relationships that are built and facilitated, and the platform really helps get those onto, it uses AI, but there's people behind it, and the results are not just machine generated. They're actually created and moved forward by the people and the teams that we support.
Yeah, to the point of Match.com, it does the work to bring us together. Then it's up to the people that have come together to actually make the 1 + 1 = 3 piece of it, right?
Absolutely, and we're very data driven. I just want to echo again, our approach, right, is extremely data driven, and so we're looking at intent data, very intently, not to use double entendre there, but we major on making data driven decisions around how we spend money, the types of campaigns that we deploy, what channels we use, the performance of those, and then again, just seeing the results that we've been able to take a highly engaged audience and folks that are positively predisposed to a certain message and a certain story, marry that up with a property that I'm looking forward to the third season, Bodie getting out of jail and doing his thing, like that, it's going to be great. Just to continue to see where this goes in the future, not only with Fire Country, but with other formats that we're talking about, whether it be live sports, news, or other things that you guys are ideating on.
Yeah.
I have just one more question, and then we can go to the questions from those who are attending. So, Mike, does the platform give you enough control here? This question has come up before. So the brands come in, they get our AI recommends. It might recommend 3, 4, 5 shows. They reach out to you. And then the platform gives you the ability to say yes or no. Is that, and then the other thing the platform does, obviously, is once the ads are created, you also have to approve those. Is that sufficient for you to scale this?
It is. And I'll tell you, it was one of the things that you and I have talked about for a while now, is that we are, just as anyone should be, as much as Andrew is protective of his brand, we're super protective of our brands and IP. And we just want to make sure that we have the ability to not only control the media, but understand, or control the creative, understand where that media is going to go, because we don't want things showing up in places where we don't feel it's appropriate. And so that's been really a great plus about the platform. It really has given us the control we need. And at every opportunity, we can always say, look, this doesn't work for us. We can give feedback to the brand. They can modify. They have the opportunity to say, well, that feedback doesn't work for us. Thank you. And you can move on. And so I think that we've always felt like we have the ability to make sure that creatively, from a brand safety perspective and just overall, we have the ability to control what we need to control when we need to control it, so we can feel confident that we're doing the right thing with not only our IP, but with the partner brand that we're working with.
Andrew, kind of the flip side of that. So moving forward, you guys have grown really rapidly. You're over $1 billion in sales at this point. So as you continue to grow and your targets also change and there are more of them, can you foresee doing several partnerships at once?
Absolutely. And the foundation around this demand engineering, construct that's backed by platforms, tools, data, is really designed for that. The intent is that, in the future, we can hyper-personalize an ad to somebody who's showing high intent in a specific industry that has an adjacent show or media property that resonates with them, emotionally. So we're extremely relevant in that we can continue to drive engagement, positive predisposition to our brand, NWN Carousel, as well as our partners like CBS and Paramount Plus.
Cool. Hey, Danielle, I think we're ready for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for those insights. Lots to discuss here. As you mentioned, we are going to get to some audience Q&A right now. We're going to take as many questions as we can over the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. To our audience members, please know that if we don't get to your question live today, we always make sure they get forwarded over to our speakers so they have the opportunity to reply offline. Just a couple quick reminders here from AdWeek before we get started with Q&A. Today's webinar has been recorded, and you will get a link to the on-demand version in your email later today, so keep an eye out for that. And if you would like a copy of today's slides, you can find those in the event resources area right beneath the video window on your screen. You might just need to refresh so you can see the most up-to-date version, but feel free to grab those as well. All right, let's jump into some of these questions. So I feel like this is such an interesting case study, and I know that it has got our audience buzzing with more questions about how these types of partnerships might work for them and how they should be thinking about them. So we have one here that sort of is relating these types of partnerships to the funnel. So I'll just read it out. In terms of the funnel objectives, what will these partnerships add help drive best? Awareness, consideration, conversion, or purchase? And additionally, is there any sort of data on CTR that you can share to help benchmark these with other types of partnerships or ads? Any thoughts there?
I'm happy to jump in. So the answer's on the stage. The answer is yes. On all of them. Awareness, consideration, really conversion, and purchase. I have tracked our campaign in this case across every single deal stage. So week over week, I'm looking at pipeline contribution of people coming in through those clicks who are either an existing account or who are a net new logo. And I'm tracking, basically performance. We've already closed our first deal on the back of a lead or an account that, was very highly active in this campaign earlier this year. And so I think the objective is yes. This is across all dimensions, but certainly helps. It helps in the awareness stage. I think equally as much as it does as you're in the middle of a deal, to be able to stay in front and relevant and exciting as a brand to a prospective account. Or an existing account for that matter.
Yeah. And on the IP side, it's really doing the same thing. We've got plenty of people who maybe have never even heard of Fire Country before. And so now we're putting these shows and the ads in front of people who've never heard of it. On the same time, we've got over 10 million people a week who are watching this program. If it can work to actually drive deeper engagement, get them to go from 2 episodes a month to 3 episodes a month, that's really good for us, or maybe start streaming. So it's really what we are tracking is it really is it's a strategy that is working full funnel for us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those details. All right, so our next question here is sort of about the creative lift that might be involved in a partnership of this nature. I'll read it out. Someone says, this is really cool, and it's something I've always wanted to do with my brand, but I don't know how to make ads like this. I don't have those creative resources. MutualMarkets, do you have like any capability to create these ads? What does that look like in terms of the partnerships?
Well, I'll take that one, Danielle. So once the partnerships are approved, the TV program shares the assets that are available to make the ad. And the short answer is we use a version of Gen AI. We can make the ads for a brand and then get the approvals from both parties, or the brand can take the assets and make the ads themselves. So the brand has the option; they can do either.
We actually try to provide as many assets as possible because that are all approved on our side. So if we place a variety of assets, whether it is key art or logos or what have you, we give that to Alan and his team, and then he can start to parse it out in the right way. And then the platform allows a great collaboration between the two to help us get to the creative that we like.
Yeah, we would regularly get notified when a new asset was available, and that would trigger a workflow for my team, both my in-house design creative team, as well as my programs teams to kind of get ready for the next episode in the case of Fire Country. So it was very, very unique, I would say, in the ability for us to, build our own, but also get some great ideas from the Gen AI. Ultimately, I think we did a combination of both at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I do want to point out that I think this is the other innovation in the platform, because I was nervous about the creative. We're very picky and very thoughtful. There's a lot of thought that goes into the creative. And frankly, we've been really surprised with the level of creative that you've been able to output through the platform, utilizing the assets that we have. And from what I can tell, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all been pretty easy.
It's been, yeah, exactly. I mean, this typically would require many different organizations between me and you to get something of this magnitude, out the door. And so the platform, the technology has definitely taken a lot of that friction out of what would typically be a very frictionful experience.
Yeah.
And speaking of what can sometimes be a frictionful experience, the other piece of friction that can often be involved in high-level partnerships is time, right? Surely just going back and forth and getting those approvals from both parties. So we have a question here about that. Someone asks, how long does this generally take? I manage partnerships at a big brand, and they generally take a few months, at least, in negotiations. Can you give us a sense of timing here?
Well, let me start. So it can take, as I mentioned at the beginning, it can literally take potentially as little as a day for someone that's actually been on the platform and kind of done this before. If you're new to the platform, it can take a couple of days. There's a lot of stuff that the platform does. It makes the recommendations. It allows you to fully explore those recommendations. It allows you to reach out to the content owners. It allows you to tell the content owners kind of what you want to do, what kind of campaign you're considering. And then the content owners, because they're on the platform, because Mike and his team are on the platform in particular for CBS, they review the requests. They have all the information about the brand because we're able to provide that. And then a decision can get made relatively quickly. And what then allows the ad creation and the trafficking to go forward is when you come onto the platform, like in other marketplaces, both sides accept the terms and conditions, and that's what removes most of the legal hassle and allows both sides to emerge as winners here. So Mike, Andrew, you might have a slightly...
I can't even express how innovative the fact that there's a standardized, effectively a rules engine, that you accept or you participate in as a part of the onboarding process to the platform. And that's really, again, once I've met, like I might meet Mike at like at a restaurant or something, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm like the president, CMO of CBS. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to go and work with this guy? So once I've connected, but it's like, how do we collaborate, right? And the collaboration part and, the connecting is easy relative. Like, we could reach out on LinkedIn and say, hey, I have this idea. I'd like to, but the collaboration and doing that within the construct of the rules that I have, the rules that you have, is really part of the key innovation here. And to Alan, your point about like, that's what helps make that day or 2 days possible, that the rules of the road are there. You have, of course, the metadata catalog and everything that the Gen AI is doing, but the rules of the road are in place that facilitates that. That's a safe space. That's a safe and secure place for us as two different organizations to work together in a way that we know is going to enforce the compliance, the governance, and everything else that we have to adhere to as senior executives within our organizations.
Yeah, I would underscore that unlike a LinkedIn platform where you're just bombarded with either requests or people looking to connect, like I can't handle that. The thing about this platform, we're all there for the same reasons, and both parties know we're going to get something out of it. Like it becomes mutually beneficial, and that's what I really like about it. And Andrew, I love the idea. It is a safe space for brand partnerships. A day would be, I think, a little revolutionary. I think we'll get there, but I typically can see things moving pretty quickly within a matter of a few weeks. We can get a partnership done that we all feel pretty good about.
Thank you for sharing those insights on timing. All right, we've got a little interesting question here. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this one. Someone is curious if a hyper-local collaboration or partnership could be a possibility here. Is this a possibility for a small business? Help us understand that element.
Well, I'll take the first shot, Danielle. I think one of the great potential use cases of MutualMarkets is with kind of local advertisers that have never had access to big national content to break through, right? So imagine you're any kind of local business, you have a local presence, but that kind of digital advertising, that's where the 0.05% is coming from. It is really tough to break through in that environment, and the ability to attach yourself to a national brand, even one that in particular in your region may be particularly large, is definitely a way to break through. And it's when we talk about B2Bs or emerging consumers, we are talking about kind of local brands. And I think from the flip side, from the content owner perspective, CBS, Mike, and you can correct me here, the ability to develop relationships with literally hundreds of new brands that can grow, I think makes it attractive from the national content perspective. So I hope that answers the question. It's an emphatic yes.
Yeah, we love small business, and I think there's a perception out there that you can't advertise or integrate or do partnerships with something within Paramount or CBS, and that's absolutely not true. I think MutualMarkets can help us facilitate those hyper local and local relationships, just like they've done with Andrew and other companies that we've worked with. We've got another product, Paramount Ads Manager, that's doing exactly that, because we're really trying to find new, innovative ways that we can start to bring advertisers, no matter how big, how small they are, into the ecosystem and help them explore different ways to advertise with us, not only on our platforms, but also with our IP.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you for diving into that for us. We have a related question here regarding the level of investment or campaign size, essentially. Someone's asking, how large does the campaign need to be? Give us a sense here of what we should be thinking about in that sense.
Well, that's it's really up to the content owner. So far, the initial campaigns have been small and then they've grown. So there's been test and learning. But think here, 5 to 10 million impressions to start, which is enough to figure out how well it works. But that's a very kind of minor investment. And again, just if you look at the way these types of deals have been done outside of MutualMarkets, no content owner like CBS and Fire Country would have ever agreed to anything kind of that preliminary. But on the platform, that is available because the hope is here that the campaign gets tested, everybody realizes how it's working, and then there'll be additional investment. So it allows flexibility and iteration. That could change, but that's where we started.
Yeah, I go back to, Andrew, the point you initially made that these campaigns are really about efficiency. And so no matter how big or how small, we could do a really small campaign as long as it's efficient. Like, that starts to work for everybody. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the platform. It really helps us better define the targets and better understand where to reach them in ways that just surprise audiences. And that's essentially what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at CBS's catalog, to just, the opportunity is really endless. It's just up to, I know this is AdWeek, right? There are a lot of creatives hopefully listening and getting excited because, you look at the inventory, not just the current inventory, but the back catalog of all the properties, all the intellectual property, all the creativity over the past 50 years, right? That may be possible to bring up and do co-marketing with through innovations like this. And you can get really creative, really focused. You don't have to spend, tens of millions of dollars to put together something that performs extraordinarily well.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those additional details. Our audience is getting more curious as you continue to explain more. So they have a follow-up question, which is, what is the cost in terms of averages or whatever you can share to help give folks an idea of what the investment would look like here?
Sure. There's a transaction fee for entering into the partnership, which is based on the impression commitment that's made. And so the way that works now is, if you think about 10 million impressions, the cost of running those through and engaging that partnership would be $5,000. So that's the fee, gets you access to the content and it gets you the ads, and then allows you to take those ads and use them if you're a brand in your digital campaign. The transaction concept is similar to the trade desk. It's less, but the concept is the same.
Thanks for giving us a sense of that as well. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions today. But as I mentioned before, any questions we didn't get to live, we'll make sure the speakers get access to them. I'd like to thank our speakers as well as our sponsor, MutualMarkets. Some final reminders here from AdWeek. Make sure you grab those slides from the event resources area and be sure to keep an eye out for the link to the on-demand recording, which will be out later today. As always, if you enjoyed today's webinar, be sure to check out our full schedule of upcoming events at adweek.com/webinars. Again, huge thank you to our speakers, Mike, Andrew, and Alan. Thank you to our audience for joining us live today. And as always, we look forward to seeing everyone on an upcoming AdWeek webinar. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Daniel, for the opportunity. Thank you, Andrew and Mike. Really appreciate it.